Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov heaped praises on his friend and Indian counterpart S. Jaishankar for asking the West to mind their own business when asked about why New Delhi continued to buy Russian oil despite sanctions on Moscow. Lavrov's remarks comes after External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar last week displayed India's foreign policy acumen, affirming that New Delhi kept buying Russian oil despite the war in Ukraine, which also led to stabilizing the world market.
И мой друг, министр иностранных дел Субраманиан Джайшанкар, как-то был в ООН выступал, его стали спрашивать, почему вы там у России столько много нефти стали покупать и так далее, и так далее. Он им посоветовал заниматься своими делами. И напомнил заодно, сколько Запад стал покупать нефти и продолжал покупать нефть в Российской Федерации. Вот, это и есть национальные достоинства.
In a video shared by the Russian news agency Sputnik, Lavrov underlined how India and Russia continued to flourish the bilateral ties while the rest of the world left Moscow isolated by imposing several sanctions. For those unversed, after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, most of the Western nations imposed sanctions on Moscow and stopped buying Russian crude oil. However, India, on the other hand, maintaining its long-standing ties with Russia, refused to play along and continued to buy crude oil at cheaper rates. Lavrov also called out Europe's double standards, stating that it needs to grow up. The foreign minister also criticized Europe's double standards, urging Europe to shift away from the perspective that Europe's issues are global concerns, while global issues are not Europe's problems. Recently, sitting alongside US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock stated that India buying Russian crude oil must not be a problem for the West. If I am smart enough to have multiple options, you should be admiring it, not criticizing, Jaishankar had stated at the Munich Federation.
Is that a problem? Why should it be a problem? If I'm smart enough to have multiple options, you should be admiring me. You shouldn't be criticizing.
Meanwhile, Lavrov emphasized the long-standing historical relations between the two nations, highlighting Moscow's backing of New Delhi throughout the Cold War era, where the Western powers refrained from providing advanced weaponry.
В те годы, когда Запад даже не думал передавать какие-то современные вооружения Индии, а Советский Союз и впоследствии Россия не просто делал это, но и создавала совместные производства высокотехнологичных, тех же ракет, скажем, «Брамос».
The Narendra Modi-led government's stand regarding Russia amid the ongoing conflict has received praise from Moscow earlier as well. The Russian president in January asserted that Moscow could depend on India and its leadership, confident that New Delhi would not engage in games against them on the global platform.